So I went to a conference last week called the Young Guns Summer Summit or something like that, and I think I was probably the youngest one there. It wasn't really a lot of young people, at least by age, but they, the whole thing was they're talking about how young is like a mindset, which is true, and a mindset of curiosity and openness and willingness to learn and being open-minded. And they made an interesting point. You should have a mentor that's 30 years older than you and 30 years younger than you. Now, I'm 21, so that don't really work for me, but the point is, like, you can learn a lot from people, and I've talked a lot about you learning from people that are older than you, but you can also learn a lot from people that are younger than you. And I think something that nobody really talks about is generational intelligence, in that I believe that based on evolution alone, each generation gets a little bit smarter, or at least they should. Like the things that my parents, or that like kids my age, our parents learned, if it took them their whole life to learn, they teach us that when we're young, and to us that just seems like normal, like common sense. So when we're able to kind of, take those things, learn those things early, it allows us to learn new things and become even smarter. I think there's a lot of pride and ego in older generations, and them not wanting to sometimes admit that their kids' generation might be smarter than them. And I think it's a fine line. You gotta kind of find that fine line between like willingness to learn and openness and understanding and respecting our elders. The older people, definitely at the minimum, we need to be respecting them. But I think on the other side of it, I think that it's about not always thinking that everything that they say is accurate or right. Like when I was younger, anyone that was older than me, I was like, they're right. Whatever they're saying, whether it's my parents, grandparents, random people, coaches, even just older kids, like whatever they say is right because they're older. That's the way I used to think, and that's just not the case. Age really doesn't translate to intelligence. Like, it's about what you're doing, like if you're young, if you're like 15 but you've been through some shit, you're probably a lot more wise than a 40-year-old that has been handed everything on a silver platter and hasn't really had to work for nothing. And so I don't really look at it like just because you're older that means you're wiser or more knowledgeable. I think it can mean that with certain people, and you need to respect that. But I think it's also okay to understand that I understand things, or that, you might understand things that like a lot more easily than, your parents did at our age. Like, and that's good and that's fine, and that's the way it should be, But I think at the end of the day, it's about not being judgmental. It's about respecting everybody, regardless of their age. Older, younger, and not looking at younger people like they're dumber because they might be smarter. And it's not even about smart or dumb. It's about being a good person, and being a good person is respect. It's a lot of things, but it's at the start, I think it's respect. And it's having the willingness to learn and not thinking that you know everything. And I've had moments where I think I know everything, of course, and I think a lot of people do. A lot of especially young men, coming out of high school and my age, and you think that you know everything, and it's just having the willingness to learn and to learn from everybody. And I think everybody does have something to teach you, even if it's somebody that really doesn't isn't necessarily where you want to be. Sometimes, you know, people that are doing things that you don't like, those people are important too, because it teaches you that you don't like those things and that that's not who you want to be. So generational intelligence, you know, be willing to learn from people regardless of age.